Good morning to you all. I'm sorry I can't be with you this morning. I want to talk about a tapestry I've got, and the theme will be the harvest of trees. This is the tapestry, and you can see that it's a tree here. It's made with a single thread going from the root to the leaves in every case. So it's entirely a bundle of single threads, and it makes us remember what God was saying about in Jesus, about He is the vine and we are the branches, and God is the root there. Without me, Jesus said, you, the branches, can do nothing. So I'm thinking to myself, having looked at that tapestry, what are trees doing for us? What harvest do we get from the trees? If we start maybe with the roots, they're creating a landscape actually for us, aren't we? You've only got to look around and see what happens when you take the trees away from a hillside and the huge erosion that occurs when those roots are not holding things together. And the same thing can happen on a riverside. They're crucial to holding the landscape together, and without them the landscape would be very different. It makes you think, doesn't it, about Jesus and God holding us steady at the root, keeping us steady. But Jesus was saying that we're the branches. The branches there in that tapestry, in a real tree, they're giving shelter, aren't they, to all sorts of living things. Of course, the birds, but not just birds. I expect you see squirrels perhaps in your garden, and if you go into the jungle you'll see other animals in the trees, not least monkeys, and we ourselves can shelter under the trees. They're giving a loving protection, if you like, the trees, to all forms of creation. It makes you think about what we're doing. If we're the branches, you might ask yourself, well, what form of protection are we giving to other forms of creation? The roots, the branches, and of course the leaves on the tree. Well, we know very well, don't we, that the harvest of the leaf, they take that waste carbon dioxide that we're breathing out, and they give us oxygen, the stuff of life. It's absolutely essential for us to have oxygen, and we know full well how important it is to get the carbon dioxide out of this greenhouse atmosphere, and the trees are doing just that. I was thinking about the passage in the Old Testament where we hear about the breath of life of God being breathed into dry bones and bringing them back to life. And that's very similar, isn't it, to what the trees are doing for us. They're our breath of life, getting our bones to go, because we can take a big gulp of oxygen and all that energy possible. So the roots, the branches, the leaves, and then the goodies, of course, the fruit and the nuts that we get from the trees, the delicious harvest. We don't need to say much about that. I don't know whether you'd like nuts. Maybe you're nut allergic, but many people enjoy nuts, and they're absolutely full of protein, something else that's important for us in our lives, isn't it? St. Paul, who, I'm not sure whether he was a gardener or not, he talked at one point about somebody watering and somebody else planting, and God giving the growth. But he talked about the fruit of the Spirit. He reckoned that the fruit of the Spirit were love and joy and peace, patience and kindness and goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and last but not least, self-control. What a tree to generate all that fruit. But there's one other thing that we think about. If we go into a forest and we talk about the harvest of the forest, then of course it's the wood, isn't it, that comes out of the forest. And you've only got to look around here, I expect, in the room that you're in, to see the benefits of the wood. I don't know whether you're sitting on wooden furniture. I'm sure you can see some bits of wooden furniture around. The roof might be wood. There are bridges, perhaps, that are constructed with wooden beams. They're absolutely essential with their strength, but not just the strength. The beauty of the wood is amazing when we can get a wooden marquetry of various kinds. But that harvest, that gain from the forest, is at an expense, isn't it? It's at the expense of the life of the tree. Once we cut the tree down to get those benefits, then it's gone at that point. It's given its life for us, as you might say, so that we might be put on to advantage. We could think about that with Jesus giving his life to put us right with God, to put us into a new relationship with God. And just as the timber can create a bridge, so Jesus can create a bridge to put us right, to bring us back close to God. And in another way, that when we were talking with that tapestry, and the threads starting at the root and going right up into each individual leaf, that's Jesus that makes that thread consistent all the way through. Now, sadly, the life being given up by the tree is very long. When you look around at us, we're mere kids, aren't we, in relation to the life of a tree? Amazingly long in some cases. I think there are some trees in North America which we think may be of the order of 1,000 years old. They're very, very slow growing. And certainly, I would guess that the longest lived life on this earth is a tree. No other living organization has got that same length of life. And if we have to be good stewards, don't we? We have to be stewards who are able to prepare the trees, to plant the trees, but we won't see the benefit necessarily. It's our children's children that will be seeing the benefit. The book of Proverbs talk about the good man who creates a harvest of benefits for his children's children. There may be trees in fenny Compton that are being planted now that you and I will never see the full beauty of that tree or the benefits that it brings to the community. But we have to steward it for that purpose. If you're not a good steward, then you can imagine the situation that occurred in Papua New Guinea about 1,000 years ago. The Polynesian people arrived in New Guinea and settled down, and the island was covered with trees, and they used the trees to build new boats. They used the trees for rollers when they were making those famous statues that you see on Easter Island, and gradually they cut all the trees down, and it went on to such an extent that when the Europeans arrived there many centuries later, there were no trees left on the island, and the people on the island had no timber with which to construct boats or indeed to leave the island. They'd run out of their timber because they'd been poor stewards. However, here's the good news, folks. Given enough time, many trees can regenerate. I'm conscious of the tree that was in Sycamore Gap up in the northeast. We heard about it being cut down by some vandals, but that tree is beginning to shoot again. It's creating new life given time, and God will, like the tree root, create where all things seem to be lost, where you think, there's no hope here, there's no future here. With God, new things can be created even when we think the old has been cut down and there's no prospect of renewal. so that with God the forest harvest is possible again. And I think that's a real harvest that we can celebrate at this time of year. And I hope you enjoy looking around at the trees locally and remembering the good things and remembering the things that they will continue to give to you and your children and your children's children. So God bless you. Have a good morning and enjoy yourselves.